Hello and welcome to The Insider, a show designed to clue you into the biggest news, events and announcements inside the video games industry, discussing with you some things you may know, some things you may not, and the glue that holds it all together is a little bit of my own opinion. My name is Paul James, thank you very much for watching, and let's get with our episode. The week after E3 is usually a pretty quiet one. It's a quiet news week. Little things kind of break and little follow-up comments and clarifications get made from certain announcements or comments that were made at E3, but there's usually nothing particularly big. Well, on the eve of this recording of The Insider, EA has gifted me something from the heavens. They've made some stupid comments once again. It relates to loot boxes, a topic that we've discussed in depth in the past, and we're going to go back to it again now in this episode. So let's go. EA have had a lot to say about loot boxes over the course of the last 12 to 18 months, especially as certain countries around the world are starting to react to the prevalence of loot boxes, to the impact that it's having on credit card statements around the world, and incomes of parents and several other reports and things that are out there. So EA, they met up with an international body to discuss the gambling nature of microtransactions. And rather than being receptive to the feedback, EA dug its heels in. So let's get into some of the comments, and I'm going to pick out a few quotes here. "We don't call them loot boxes," EA says. "In fact, we call them surprise mechanics." What? This all comes from EA's VP of Legal and Government Affairs, Kerry Hopkins, who got up and spoke at this meeting between some heads in the UK, and there were several other representatives of other publishers and developers out there. We had people from Epic and several others that were in attendance. EA's comments, or Kerry in this case's comments, are the ones that really blew some minds, caused some ripples across the internet, and we're going to keep diving into that. She spoke about how the loot boxes, these surprise mechanics, are more like blind pack toys. So Kinder Surprise, so Hatchimals. I had to put this one in, whatever a LOL Surprise is, and the one that I kind of thought by extension, Pokemon cards. But the big difference that I look at when we're dissecting EA's loot boxes, surprise mechanics, and then we compare them to those references and those examples that were made in that particular meeting, is that in those cases they are physical things, and you can trade that physical thing with a friend or give it to a friend if that's what you like. The problem is that with the majority of EA's offerings, that's not a feasible option. So if you make this financial exchange and you get your Ultimate Team Pack, for example, or some microtransaction in an upcoming shooter, and you get nothing that's of use to you, you get duplicates for some reason, it's completely useless to you. You can't on-sell it, you can't trade it, you can't gift it. You're stuck with it, you've wasted your money. So what was the point? Miss Hopkins, who was on a hiding to nothing here, continued. "We also disagree that there's evidence that shows it leads to gambling, quote unquote." What? Go and speak to representatives of Belgium or the Netherlands who've in recent years banned any game releases of games, features in games that feature loot boxes in any way, shape or form because they consider it gambling. And are you trying to say that they haven't done their research? Have they not gone and done some case studies and observed what impact it's having to parents and their wallets? What's happening to mobile game whales, a term that's used for people who spend excessive amounts of money in certain mobile games. I've spoken about over the journey through Patched and The Insider and some of my writing on Player 2 that I was really big into Pokemon Go at one point, and I spent far too much money on that game. I kicked the habit, thank God. And there was a period there where I was sinking in not outrageous amounts of money. I wasn't breaking the bank. I wasn't addicted, but I'd commit a little bit of money to it each week, And I looked at, when I finally made the decision to quit, to quit making those transactions, I looked at it and I thought, why? What's the point here? I'm not actually getting anything from this. I'm fast tracking some things, and that's kind of cool, I guess, but it's nothing I couldn't have done anyway. So I was getting sold on something. It was a complete waste of my time. These apps, mobile apps, or loot boxes in other games, they're traps. People are falling into those things, and it's causing lots of problems. And for EA to be digging their heels in like this is a real problem. And I think it's only something that's going to come back to bite them later on. We'll close with a few other comments that Miss Hopkins made. People like earning the packs. No, they don't. People like being rewarded for their effort. People like, and let's talk Call of Duty, especially in its golden era, people like hitting their next level prestige or whatever it happens to be because they've won so many matches or they've got an X number of kills. People like being rewarded for their achievements, not for spending excess money. That's not a reward. That's you breaking the game, breaking the systems that are in place. Now, like I said before, there are other representatives there. We had people from Epic, and they are responsible for Fortnite, which is still the biggest game in the world and has a ton of microtransactions. They weren't foolish enough to make any stupid comments like Miss Hopkins did on behalf of EA, but like she did. You gotta wake up. You gotta get a read for the room. You gotta get a read for what's going on, and that's one of my big concerns with EA these days. Is that they're clearly not in touch with the consumer. They're looking at their bottom line. They're looking at profitability and thinking, great. And they are making money hand over fist from these whales, from these people who spend up big on microtransactions or whatever it happens to be. But they're ignoring the overwhelming majority of their consumers along the way and upsetting them along the way, and we get products like Anthem, and we get Firestorm or whatever it was from Battlefield 5 that takes months and months to come out. And I'm sure that was in part, yes, because they were still developing it, but in part they were working out how they could monetize that even more. We get recycled titles. We're getting delays. Like, the whole thing's a mess over there. There is a disconnect between EA and the people playing their games. We'll close with one final comment, and one that amused me a little bit here. And I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to read it out, and you can read into my facial expressions all you like. I would tell you that Electronic Arts is a very responsible company. That concludes this episode of The Insider. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. All those buttons are down below here, and hit that notification bell. That way you're alerted to every new video the moment it goes live on the channel. That includes Patched, The Insider, Player 2 Plays, Late Game Review, Gamer School, and a whole bunch more. There's some awesome content there, so please be sure to go and check it out. For written content, visit the website player2.net.au, where you'll find reviews, previews, opinion pieces, news, features, the Player 2 Writers Draft, our E3 Hub, which has still got some dribs and drabs coming in from that big event only a week ago, links to our podcast series, Dev Diary and the Player 2 Pixelcast, and a whole bunch more. There's some great stuff there, so please be sure to go and check it out. We're on Twitch, twitch.tv/player2au. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/player2au, where you can kick in a few bucks. The lower tiers, you get early access to episodes. The higher tiers, you get monthly episode exclusives. You are helping the Player 2 dream to grow with every little donation you make, so thank you in advance. We really appreciate it. Finally, there's Twitter. You can find me at Paul James Games. The website you'll find at Player2au. And until next time, hopefully this is the last time for a while that I need to talk about loot boxes and EA, but presumably it's going to come up again. And until that time, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.